Hi there, this is Praying Medic, and this is my news update for Thursday, January 4th. What is everyone doing? How's it all going? I hope you're surviving the winter storm weather on the East Coast. All that yuck. Um, don't hate me, but I just turned on the air conditioning here in our house. It's 75 degrees. It's getting a little warm, and I was starting to sweat a little bit. So I turned the air conditioning on. Hey, honey, I turned the air conditioning on, by the way. Um, I didn't tell her. But now she knows. Now you know. So don't hate me because I live where it's warm. Don't hate me. You can't do that. Uh, that's why I have. Every day I get to wear palm tree flowered shirts and shorts. Pretty much. It's why we live in Phoenix. It is cold all over except out here. Excited for my audiobook. Yes, I finally got my first audiobook available. My friend Steve Bremner, he and I have done a number of podcasts together. Steve is a good podcaster. He's got a good voice. I hired him to do my first audiobook. So if you're interested in audiobooks, my book, Seeing in the Spirit Made Simple, that one, where I teach about how to see visions, how to see the invisible realm. Yes, it is something you can learn. It's now available on audio. So go get it. And thank you, those of you who have been supporting us financially. Again, not going to call anybody out, but we have been receiving more financial support from people following the broadcast. So just want to thank you all for your generosity. Get you caught up on the news real quick. It's kind of a slow news day, so we'll just kind of run down some news headlines. Starting off with everyone's favorite, North Korea. I don't know, I have this little news outline, my bullet points, and I just leave North Korea at the top until we figure out, what's things get stabilized in North Korea. It's the thing that everyone kind of wants to know. Are we still okay? Is Kim Jong-un going to push his little button and is he going to blow us up? Where are we at? So in a rather stunning, I'm just going to read out the president's tweet this morning. This is a tweet that the president set out about 6 or 7 hours ago. With all the failed experts weighing in, does anybody really believe that talks and dialogue would be going on between North and South Korea right now if I wasn't firm, strong, and willing to commit our total might against the North? Fools. But talks are a good thing. So the president is saying, look, we're having diplomatic negotiations with North Korea through South Korea. Does anyone think that would be going on if I hadn't taken a tough position on this? Of course not. Trump knows how to negotiate. He is a negotiator. He knows how to make deals. And so what's going on is Trump had leverage over North Korea. And that was in the spring, they always do these war games in South Korea with Japan and all of our allies. Lots of ships, planes, lots of bombing. It is something that makes North Korea very nervous, and it makes Russia very nervous. And as a way to get Kim Jong-un to the negotiating table, Trump kind of dangled out there the war games. Hey, you know what? Maybe we could delay our war games this year if you'll sit down at the table with us and talk about stuff. So they have announced that the US and South Korea are going to suspend the annual war games. They're going to delay them until after the Olympics. And that will give time to have some diplomatic negotiations, which means World War III has been postponed, at least for a while. So if you have people that are afraid of World War III, chill. Trump's got this. We're negotiating. It's looking good. It's looking good. Going to Iran, protests are continuing. Not a whole lot changing. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard is continuing to use lethal force. Some of the protesters have been killed. And I will say this. about Iran. I was noticing this morning, listening to Sarah Huckabee Sanders and her press conference, and how the press is obsessed with this Steve Bannon story. They will not let go of it. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, what is going on with this Steve Bannon drama? Right, this guy wrote this book, and in it he quotes, and the thing looks like it's almost completely fiction. Just looking at the excerpts from it, it looks like this guy just made stuff up. And he quotes Bannon as having all this nasty, dirty stuff to say about the Trumps. And once the media got a hold of it, they are not letting it go. They're like a dog with a frisbee. I mean, again, to use the analogy, Trump might as well have staked a goat out in front of the White House and called the wolves in, because he threw that Bannon story. That thing got thrown out there, and the press will not let go of this Bannon story. Now, if you know the president and you know that he is strategic in what he does, and I told you yesterday, Trump is notorious for throwing some shiny stuff over there. Shiny stuff. Hey, look, there's shiny stuff over there. And then over here, something else is going on. What is this something else that's going on? All right. What I have noticed, go to Mike Pence's Twitter timeline. Go to the State Department website and go find out what General Mattis has been talking about. Mattis, Pence, and Tillerson have been talking about nothing but Iran. That's all they're talking about right now. So while Pence, Mattis, and Tillerson are all focused on Iran, Trump and the media are engaging in this Bannon drama. Now let me ask you, which do you think is the more important issue right now? I suspect that Trump is trying to get some traction on a very important issue to him, which is Iran. And he doesn't want the media all over it. I suspect Trump wants the media as far away from Iran as he can get them. Doesn't want them looking into Iran or what we're doing, doesn't want them concerned. Hey, go have fun with the Bannon story, because we have some serious work to accomplish. And who needs the fake news media getting involved in all of that? We don't need them. They want to play with Bannon all day long. Let them go play with the Bannon story. And by the way, next Monday night, the president is going to have the first annual Fake News Awards. So be sure and tune in. I don't know if it's going to be broadcast. I don't know what that's all about. I would love to be there in person, but the first annual Fake News Awards are going to be given out by the president 5 p.m. Eastern Time next Monday. So mark your calendar. Anyway, I suspect this Bannon story is probably a diversion, and that's why I'm not paying any attention to it. Focusing on what the president's important people are focusing on. Other new U.S. news. The jobs just came out. U.S. added 250,000 private sector jobs in December. 250,000 jobs added to the private sector in December. One month. That's the new jobs report, just came out. The Dow has closed above 25,000 for the first time ever. I don't know how many record highs that is since Trump got in office, but there is so much winning going on. So many new jobs. Corporations, companies are hiring. They're giving bonuses to their employees. It's looking good right now. The economy is looking good. Financials are looking good. I'm encouraged at what I'm seeing as far as news. We've had one great jobs report after another. Let's see, 4 or 5 days ago, there were a couple of really good housing stories that came out. New home sales and existing home sales are at the best they've been since before the downturn of the housing market back in 2008. Everything seems to be recovering really well. Other news in the U.S. Winning and winning and winning. That is correct. That is right. Congress is taking up a spending bill to avoid a government shutdown. Now, when they passed the continuing resolution before Christmas, that only got us through for a month. So, coming up at the end of this month, really in a couple of weeks, there is going to be the specter of another government shutdown. They're already working on, there's some soft talks on the spending bill. Hopefully they won't do another continuing resolution. They need to do an actual annual budget that will get us through an entire year. That's what they need to do. So Congress is working on that. Of course, DACA is going to be something to consider. There's negotiations in it, no decisions made, nothing really to report on it other than they are working on it. In the deep state update, Devin Nunes last night had a little conversation with Rod Rosenstein and Chris Wray, and they had reached because Nunes had given them a deadline where they needed to turn over a lot of documents and allow him permission to interview witnesses in the Department of Justice. And there was a story that came out last night. Nunes has reached an agreement with Rod Rosenstein to obtain all the documents and interview all the witnesses that he's requested. So Nunes is a happy camper right now. He will get to interview his people and he'll get his documents. And that is kind of the news update. I would like to give you a commentary now. And this will probably irritate a few people, but it's my opinion. So there was an announcement today that Jeff Sessions is going to rescind the Obama-era memos that had adopted a policy of non-interference with states that were friendly toward marijuana. And so this means that the Obama-era policy of not enforcing marijuana laws is now going away. And a lot of people are unhappy about it. They ain't happy. They want their marijuana. Why should the Fed care about that? Well, allow me to give you some discussion on what that's all about. And let me just ask you this. Now, look, let me preface this. I know a lot of people who use medical marijuana, and I know a lot of people who benefit from it, and I don't have any problem with that. That's fine. I'm getting to a point in this discussion where I think I'm going to recommend an action that you should take if this is an issue you're concerned about. At the end of this, I'll give you an action you can take that will help your cause. First question you have to ask yourself is, who is Jeff Sessions? Jeff Sessions is the Attorney General. He is the top law enforcement officer in the country. Jeff Sessions is not an advocate for healthcare. Jeff Sessions cannot be an advocate for healthcare or healthcare reform. Sessions is a cop. He is the top law enforcement officer in the country. Okay? What do law enforcement officers do? They enforce the law. What happens when they don't enforce the law? What happens when they make exceptions to the law? What happens when they selectively enforce the law? What happens when they overlook some people but prosecute others? Okay. What we have seen during the Obama era under Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch was selective enforcement of the law. It was, well, we're going to prosecute these people, but we're going to let these people go. We're not going to enforce those laws because we don't like them, but we'll enforce these other laws because these are important to us. When you run a law enforcement agency with selective enforcement of laws, where some people are prosecuted, some are not, some laws are overlooked and others are enforced, you're telling the American people some people are above the law and some laws are not worth enforcing. That creates chaos for law enforcement agencies. Equal protection under the law means if you're a law-abiding citizen, you are protected from unreasonable search and seizure. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you expect equal protection under the law. if you are a criminal, you should expect equal prosecution under the law. That is what it means to be a nation where law and order is respected. And we had a problem under the Obama administration where law and order wasn't really equal. It wasn't fair. It wasn't fairly applied. And Sessions is trying to undo some of that damage. Now, the problem created here was these were some memos. These were not laws that were passed by Congress. They were memos written by the executive branch to overlook certain laws. That is not how you enforce laws. You can't enforce a memo. Memos are not enforceable. You have laws, and that's what, when you're a law enforcement officer, you go to law enforcement school. They give you the state penal code, and that is what you charge people with. If they are suspected guilty of a crime, you look up the penal code and you charge them with it. You don't charge people, you don't prosecute them based on memos. All right, so what is the problem with sanctuary cities? The problem with sanctuary cities is certain mayors and governors have decided they do not want immigration law to be enforced in their cities or in their states. Yes, there's a federal law. Yes, the federal law demands that if a person has committed a crime and they're an illegal alien, they need to be deported. That's what the federal law says. People don't like sanctuary city laws because it allows criminal illegal aliens to stay in the country illegally who should be deported. And that is, if you allow that, you're allowing selective enforcement of the law. And people don't like that because they don't like selective enforcement. Law should be applied universally to everybody without regard to situation. And this marijuana law is the same type of problem. Some people don't want it enforced because it's inconvenient, because it's one of their pet issues and they want the government to overlook it. Well, if you're in law enforcement, that's a problem. So from a law enforcement perspective, laws need to be black and white, not gray. If you don't have black and white laws, and if you don't enforce the laws universally and blindly to everyone, you create situational ethics where some cases are overlooked. I'm not going to prosecute this person. I like this person. I don't like this law. I'm going to overlook that. And you create chaos. It's very difficult for law enforcement to do their job when the laws are not black and white. And look, I'll be perfectly honest. This is really a personality type issue. If you are a personality type that is prone to myself, I am what David Kersey calls a guardian provider. The guardian personality types tend to be highly motivated by a sense of duty and obligation, and they're very much in favor of enforcing the laws of society, enforcing the rules, because that way nobody gets hurt and everyone's kept safe. And for guardian personality types, law enforcement is very, very important because we want everyone to be safe. We don't want people getting hurt. One of our major motivational forces is keeping society safe. That's what motivates us. That's why we get up in the morning. I get up and do these news broadcasts and I teach because I want people to have a better life and I want them to be safe and I want them to be informed. That is the kind of thing. And these personality types are very much motivated by duty and obligation. I feel I have a duty to help keep society safe and informed. I feel I have an obligation to do that. That's what makes us tick, all right? Now, if you are a personality type that is more of an idealist, idealists are motivated by abstract ideas like love, mercy, compassion, justice, fairness. They're not motivated by obligation and duty to society. They're not as concerned with laws. They're more concerned with people being treated well, fairly, that sort of thing. And there's all these different personality types, and what we're seeing is a clash of personality types. the idealist personality type would probably say, we need to do what's in the best interest of these cancer patients or sick people who benefit from marijuana. Forget about the laws. We don't need this law. We need these people to be taken care of. So an idealist personality type is much more willing to overlook a law in order to provide aid and comfort to someone who's suffering. That is how they're motivated. And so when you have different personality types getting involved in this conversation, you're going to have disagreements. And can both sides be right? Yes, both sides can be right. And here is where you come to an agreement. Look, the problem is people have not talked to their congressmen and senators in Washington, D.C., and gotten them to change the federal law. If the federal law is changed and the federal law made marijuana legal, Jeff Sessions and the Justice Department would enforce it that way. The problem is the people of America have changed their attitude toward marijuana and they want it legalized, but it's never been made legal by the law. So if this is an issue for you, you need to contact your senator, your representative, and you need to have them change the federal law so that there isn't this conflict between state law and federal law. Just if we change the federal law so that marijuana is legal, no more problem. And that's what needs to happen. The law enforcement officers, you can't expect them not to enforce the law the way it's written. All they need to do is change the law. And that is, that is a national conversation. Not everyone feels marijuana should be legal. That's fine. We need to have a national debate on the subject. And if people want access to it, it should be legalized nationwide. Or it should be licensed as pharmaceutically. They can change the pharmaceutical laws and make it a licensed substance. But, people have strong opinions both ways. For me, legally, it's just an issue that having ambiguity with the law is dangerous. It just makes it very dangerous and hard for law enforcement to do their job if the laws are not black and white. So, all right, that is my news update for today. Do you guys have any questions or comments? Q did drop another post for those of you who are following Q Anon. You can go and check it out on Calm Before the Storm on Reddit if you're interested. And, the really sad thing about Q is a lot of people get all, happy and wound around the axle whenever Q does another post, but they're not doing what Q told them to do with the information he's already given them. Q told them, take the information I give you, use it to read and filter the news. It'll help you interpret what's going on. You'll understand it better. And a lot of people aren't doing that. They're just waiting for Q to put out another cryptic post that they don't understand. And it's another cryptic post and another cryptic post that they don't understand, and they're not applying the information he's given them. And that's what Q told you to do. Take the information, use it to filter the news. So that's what I'm trying to do with Q. Q helps me interpret the news with the right set of eyes and the right perspective. That's really what Q's information is all about. What website do you find that info on Q? Go to the Reddit, just go on Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo and put in Calm Before the Storm. You could put in Calm Before the Storm stream, search for as your search terms, CBTS stream, and you'll find it. All the Q posts are there. The Q map is there. There's the moderators of 8chan are on there. They've created that board so they can answer questions. If you're interested in learning about Q, go to Reddit, CBTS, and you'll get information there. All right, y'all. Love you. Take care. I'm out of here. I'll catch you on the next broadcast.